In the heart of a dense forest, far from bustling cities or paved roads, there was a cabin perched on the edge of a crystal-clear lake. It belonged to Mara, a woman shrouded in mystery. She had lived there alone for years, seldom seen in the village nearby. To the villagers, she was a myth as much as she was a person. The lakekeeper, they called her in whispers, claiming she could calm storms and summon fish with the sound of her voice. Every now and then, curiosity would drive someone to venture to her lakeside cabin. They'd return with stories about her strange yet captivating aura, saying she had a way of listening, truly listening, that made people utter truths they hadn't even admitted to themselves. The stories grew over time, painting her as some kind of sage or sorceress, but none of the villagers really knew who she was. Jude, a restless young man who had just turned 20, found himself drawn to the cabin. He was tired of the sameness of the village, of the expectations placed upon him, to farm the family land, marry a girl he barely knew, and live a life rooted in tradition. It felt suffocating, and Jude couldn't ignore the pull to wander, to know what else was out there. He didn't know why, but he felt Mara might have answers. The path to her cabin was winding, lined with emerald trees that filtered the sunlight into dapples of gold. By the time Jude reached her door, his thoughts were swirling. Should he have come here? What would he even say? But something about the scent of the lake air, the way it smelled clean, weightless, made him knock. The door opened after just a moment, revealing Mara. She was younger than he'd imagined, her face framed by wisps of dark hair and her eyes sharper than he expected. But her expression was calm, and she didn't seem surprised to see him. "You're Jude," she said simply, as if she'd been expecting him. Yes, I suppose you've heard about me," he replied, trying to hide his awkwardness. "Not really," Mara said, "but I know when someone's looking for something. Come in." Jude stepped inside, surprised by how cozy the cabin felt. It smelled faintly of wood smoke and herbs. There wasn't much, just a stone hearth, a small kitchen table, and a shelf filled with old books. Mara motioned for him to sit. "So," she said as she poured tea into 2 mismatched mugs, "what is it you've come to ask?" Jude hesitated. The words were tangled in his chest like tree roots. But as she set the steaming mug in front of him and sat across the table, the way she watched him, patiently, without judgment, loosened the knots. "I don't know what to do with my life," he admitted finally. "Everyone says I'm supposed to stay in the village, work the farm, marry Jeddah, but I feel like there's something more out there, like I'm supposed to go somewhere else, be someone else." Mara took a sip of tea, her gaze steady. "And what's stopping you?" she asked, her voice calm and probing. Jude sighed deeply, feeling the weight of his own doubts. He sighed. "Responsibility. Fear, maybe. I don't know. What if I leave and it turns out I'm wrong? What if there's nothing waiting for me, no purpose, no great journey? And what if there is?" she countered, her gaze steady and challenging. Jude blinked. "I don't know. Everyone says I'd be foolish to leave." "You're asking the wrong question," she said, leaning slightly forward. "You don't need to decide whether staying or leaving is wise. You need to ask which path feels like it belongs to you." "There's no guarantee either path will be easy," Mara said. "Staying might be comfortable now, but it could pain you later. Leaving could be thrilling for a while, but it might bring hardship. The question is, which difficulty can you live with? Which one is worth enduring?" Jude turned the thought over and over in his mind, searching for the answer within himself. "How do I figure that out?" Mara smiled faintly. "You already know, Jude. People always know what's pulling at their hearts. They just don't always trust themselves to follow it." Her words sank into the quiet cabin, mingling with the sound of the lake lapping against the shore outside the window. Jude stared into his tea, feeling something shift inside him. She was right. Deep down, he did know. He had always known. But the weight of doubt had made him bury it. "What about you?" he asked after a moment. "Why are you out here alone?" Mara's expression softened, touched with a brief melancholy. "I chose a path that felt right to me. It wasn't what everyone expected. There was risk, even pain. But it's mine. That's enough." Jude nodded slowly, her words settling over him like the sun breaking through clouds. When he left the cabin and retraced his steps back to the village, he felt lighter somehow. His decision wasn't made, not yet, but he wasn't afraid of the choice anymore. Whatever lay ahead, Mara's words stayed with him. Which difficulty can you live with? Which one is worth enduring? And when the time came for Jude to forge his path, be it with the village or beyond, he trusted himself to follow it, knowing that happiness and purpose didn't come from ease or certainty, but from listening to the quiet truth of one's own heart.